All right, let's talk about one of the biggest things happening in real estate right now: mergers and acquisitions. It feels like everyone's playing this high stakes game, right? But here's the thing: very few people actually have the playbook to win. So today, we are going to unpack that playbook.
I mean, you see it happening everywhere, don't you? Firms are constantly joining forces. They're all chasing scale, trying to scoop up the best talent and, grab a bigger piece of the pie. This whole consolidation wave, it's literally reshaping the entire industry as we speak.
Okay, but here's the crazy part, the paradox. With all this wheeling and dealing, why do so many of these mergers, the ones that look absolutely perfect on paper, just fall flat? They promise all this amazing synergy, but what you get is chaos. So what is going on here?
Well, the answer is what we're calling the M&A paradox. And understanding this is the key thing that separates a truly successful deal from, well, all those cautionary tales we hear about way too often.
Think about it. Everyone gets so wrapped up in the transaction itself, right? The valuation, the nitty-gritty deal terms, that big celebratory handshake for the photo op. But that's not where the game is won or lost, not even close. The real success of a merger has almost nothing to do with the deal itself.
Closing the deal, that's just the starting pistol firing. The real race, that's the integration. That messy, complicated, but absolutely essential process of actually bringing two different companies together. That is what's going to determine if this thing succeeds in the long run.
And that brings us right to the heart of it. The real reason most of these mergers completely fail. And spoiler alert, it's not bad math. It's not even a bad strategy. It's a really fundamental misunderstanding of what actually matters.
And here it is. This is the big disconnect. Most acquiring firms, they're laser focused on the stuff you can put on a spreadsheet: the deal structure, the financials, market expansion. But the things that actually drive success, they're all about people. We're talking agent retention, cultural integration, and just plain, clear communication. This is the core mistake right here. A brokerage isn't just a collection of desks and computers. You're not buying office furniture. You are inheriting a living, breathing organization. It's made of people, their relationships with clients, and years of habits and culture. If you forget that, honestly, you've already lost the game before it even starts.
Okay, so if the big problem is a misplaced focus, then the solution has to be a pretty radical shift in your timing. The best integrations don't start the day after the deal closes. Nope, they start long before day one even happens. Just look at this proactive timeline. The really smart acquirers, they are deep in the weeds of integration planning 2, sometimes even 3 months before the deal is even signed. They're getting their leadership teams on the same page, they're hammering out their communication plan, so that everything is completely mapped out before the ink is even dry on the contract.
And there's a really critical reason for doing it this way. See, when there's a merger, an information vacuum gets created almost instantly. And what fills a vacuum? Uncertainty, anxiety, rumors. So having a crystal clear plan ready to go on day one is the absolute best way to shut down the rumor mill, calm everyone's nerves, and most importantly, protect the value of the very asset you just bought. So what happens when that plan isn't ready? When leadership is just scrambling to figure things out after the big announcement has already been made?
Well, this is what happens. Your agents are suddenly hit with this flood of really urgent, really practical questions. Wait, who do I report to now? Is the culture I love about to just disappear? Is my leadership team still here? And what in the world does this mean for my business? And when those questions go unanswered, guess what happens? Productivity tanks, and your best agents start quietly updating their resumes and heading for the door. All of this really points to the single most common breakdown in any merger. It's this massive gap, a gap between how the leadership team sees the deal and how the agents on the ground are actually experiencing it in real time. Because let's be real, at the end of the day, every single agent is asking themselves one simple but incredibly powerful question. They don't care about synergy or market expansion. They care about them. And the question is this going to help my business or is it going to hurt it? That's it. That's the whole ballgame. And this right here, this is that leadership agent gap in a nutshell. Look at the difference. Leadership is up here, thinking about the big picture: scale, operational efficiency, new org charts. But the agent? Their focus is way more immediate and personal. It's, how does this impact my bottom line, the culture? For leadership, it's a concept to merge. For an agent, it's a feeling. Do I even belong here anymore? And support? For leadership, it's an organizational chart. For an agent, it's just,
who the heck do I turn to when I need help?
And that is why absolute clarity in your communication is not just some nice-to-have HR buzzword. It becomes your single most vital retention strategy. Period. It's the only way you can bridge that gap and hang on to your most valuable assets, which, let's be clear, are your people. You know, when you get this part right, it's more than just pulling off a successful merger. It actually becomes a true competitive advantage. And in an industry that's only going to see more and more consolidation, that's a huge deal. So let's boil this all down to the essentials. The most successful acquirers, they consistently do these three things. 1, they start their integration planning 2 to 3 months before closing. 2, they get their leadership and their communication plans shaped up really early. And 3, they know exactly how the combined company is going to run before day one ever arrives. See the pattern? It's all about being proactive, not reactive. And the payoff for all that front-loaded work? Oh, it's huge. You actually get to keep your top talent. You completely sidestep that dreaded post-merger productivity dip. And best of all, you actually capture the growth and the value that made you want to do the deal in the first place. So that leaves us with one last big question to think about. In an industry that's all about consolidation, it's really not enough to just be built to acquire. The real question you have to ask yourself is, are you built to integrate? Because in the end, that's the only thing that's going to make all the difference.